Alright, that Love Clark. We've got some local news. It's pretty shocking for people around here to see and hear about. Let me grab the report. Okay, let's read this. Okay, ready? Bear with me now. Usually I don't read stuff on here. I usually go just with my heart. But right now I need to read this because I thought it was very... I was speechless at first. I didn't know what to say. A San Bernardino County couple were arrested for allegedly beating two children with a horsewhip and locking one of them in a cage for a month. Linford Schwartz, 51, and Carrie Schwartz, 49, taken into custody Wednesday by a deputy responding to a follow-up call from CPS at a home in the 35,000 block of Riverview Lane in the town of Hinckley, according to the news release from San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Deputy Bimington of the Barstow Sheriff Station stated the 17-year-old boys had been whipped with a 5-foot horsewhip. One of the teenagers had scars on both his arms and legs. The release stated the other boy had been locked in a cage for approximately 1 month from June to July and only let out for meals. The boy was allegedly had to allegedly use a bucket for a restroom. A 4-foot by 4-foot cage equipped with padlocks was found at the home along with a whip. A baby monitor was pointed directly toward the cage to alert the couple if there was movement inside. Both adults were arrested on suspicion of felony child cruelty and were being held on $100,000 each bond bail. The boys were removed from the home, as was the 17-year-old girl. There was no indication she was a victim of any crime. This all happened Friday. Okay, I got the news because I have Sabbath on Saturdays, and so I don't do much of anything on Saturdays but study, and then Sundays is fun days. So, but I got this news and it's local. So I wanted to share it. Anyone with any additional information is to contact Deputy Bennington. Okay. 760-256-3848. Now, if you dial this number to this area, you must dial 760 first, or you cannot get through. Okay. It's just how it is here. Or you can dial at We Tip 1-800-78-CRIME. Okay? Child abuse like this on these levels, any child abuse, but especially this kind of child abuse, is disturbing when I have my own children. Okay? And it's hard to understand why people would do this. But the reason why this was close to me was because a couple years ago, well, I know these people, okay? A couple years ago, or I thought I knew them, a few years back, when I still lived in Hinckley, me and my wife were going to the Hinckley Bible Church there, the local church, where we met this couple and their family. Now, I never knew them outside of the church or church events. It was always with the church. One time, let's see, anyway, this man, Linford, they call him Lynn, okay, for short, at church. He was raised a Midianite, which is kind of like the Amish, but they got a little more freedom, okay. So, and every time we saw this family, we used to kind of like make fun of them. There's the twin boys, they're identical. They're 17. And then the girl they're talking about is 17. Has the birth date around the same time as them. She's adopted, okay? The twins, I don't think they're adopted, the boys, but they're good kids. I mean, these are like the kids from The Simpsons, the Ned Flanders kids. I mean, that's how they acted, very good children, Bible kids, I mean, like the best ones in the church, as far as their behavior, and they weren't allowed to do quite a bit of nothing but work. I don't know what they were allowed to do for fun, but we always thought about this person. Okay, we always thought about this person. Sorry, I was holding the paper up. I'm distracted by I'm still kind of shook up by the knowing these people. What I do know is that when we went to church with these people. This guy even, Linford, he even led because see, this church had a pastor that left, and temporarily there was no pastor, so there was three different deacons or something like that was taking turns at the podium, every Sunday. Each one would take a turn doing a sermon till they got the replacement pastor, which I don't know if they ever did. This was before we walked away from Babylon, when we realized Sunday was not the day for us, that the true day was Saturday, was for us, the Sabbath. But anyway, so this was my Christian days before I walked away from Babylon. What you want to call me now, whatever. I say it's the way. I follow the way. All right? I don't deny Christ. I don't deny your Jesus Christ, which is a, 300-year-old word, but we've gone over this. But the point is, I wanted to talk about these people. Now, they were behaved and well spoken and highly educated. They were homeschooled. They lived in an area of Hinckley. Hinckley's a rural area, but there's also parts of Hinckley that are more rural than others, or with a lot more space. They lived in an area of Hinckley where there's plenty of space, so if they wanted to cage somebody and beat them, they sure as heck could. Nobody would hear it. I've never gone, like I said, I've never met these people, only outside of the church, but I've sat across from the table in Bible studies with this man and his wife and had arguments over the Bible. This is before we walked out of it. But I always talked to him because I thought maybe him being a Midianite, he at least a little bit knew more, a little bit, even if he didn't understand, had lost heart of what the scripture meant. He knew the words more than most people. Growing up Midianite, that's all you get to read pretty much is Bible, Like I said, it's like the Amish. A little more freedom, a little more electricity, maybe a phone, can drive a car. So, this people, but me and my wife and even our son, would get these weird vibes. And this guy would stare at people across the table, and you'd have to really look into him, but you could see that there was you could see a maniac. You could see a maniac behind his eyes. You could see it. It wasn't on the surface. You had to look deeper, and you had to be like an empathic, like I am, and sense emotions, feel people, read people by emotion, because I'm not a mind reader, okay? I'm an emotion feeler. I feel out your emotions, and then I judge which way your mind may be going according to what your emotional state and what you first initially say. Start, what your problem is, or just look around and see what the problem is, and feel it out. The point is, empathic ability, it comes with rewards and it has downsides. But we sat across from these people. They had great kids. All three of them, the daughter and the two sons, little white kids, they'd celebrated their birthday all together because they adopted the daughter around the same time and they had the same age. So they just said, let's have the birthdays all three together. And they called them all three twins, which they weren't all three twins. But anyway, just the two boys were identical twins. You could not really tell them apart. You couldn't. These kids were always smiling. they seemed, they seemed actually more, honestly, to be honest with you, they seemed more mentally sound and sane and happy than the other kids at the church who mumbled, grumbled, were allowed to listen to like worldly stuff, who parents let them, like play video games, all that kind of thing. Those kids were always like, just in, not wanting to be there. These kids probably did not want to always be at the church, but wherever they were at, they were smiling and laughing and playing and having a good time. So these kids did not outwardly look like they were, to be honest with you, they were very good, well-behaved kids, but if this is the kind of discipline they were receiving, no wonder they were so well-behaved. But the general area where they lived was secluded, and so if someone was beaten, you wouldn't hear the screams. You would not hear no one screaming. But putting them in a cage and this kind of discipline, this is way beyond. I don't care whether you're raised Midianite or what. I don't think this is the way that they do it. It's not the way to be done. You know what? I'd love to pray for you, sir. But you know what? Knowing you and sat across from the table from you, I'm thinking about your face at that Bible study still. Right across from me. And I'd love to snatch you up. I'd love to grab you by your throat. Everyone, not all parents are perfect, and we all have a lot of different problems that we can work on. Like my cluttery garage. Big deal. That's way different than putting my child in a cage. And listen, check it out. This is the high desert. It's very hot. The child was in the cage between June and July for approximately 1 month. Okay? It doesn't say if this was outside or inside the cage. I wouldn't doubt if the cage was outside, but these people were like ranchers. The wife, she worked at a feed store. I think the husband did too. If you don't know what a feed store is, for you city folk, a feed store is where you go to get your equipment and food and supplies for your horses, cows, ranch animals, farm animals and such. Okay? It's a place where you go get your food and medicine and all kind of things, supplies for your ranch animals, basically, farm animals. And she worked there, and they were always nice. She was always nice and smiling. She always had this smile on her face all the time. So watch out for those smiling people. I know I smile a lot, but I told you guys I smile when I'm angry a lot. Unless my smile will change. You'll know when I'm smiling because I'm laughing at something in my mind, or I think something's funny, or when I'm smiling because I'm angry. Alright? Lynn, I wish I'd love to sock your ass up right now, man. Do that to those kids. Those are good kids, man. Those are good kids. What could they have possibly done? Deserve to be whipped with a freaking horsewhip, a 5-foot horsewhip. And you called yourself a believer and God? All it says, spare the rod, spoil the child. It says nothing about a whip. The only place I remember where someone was being whipped was the evil-ass Romans on the demand of the Jews to whip our Christ and the Christ killers, having them whipped by the Romans. So when there's whipping going on, other than the fact that Christ took the whips and whipped the people out of the temple, okay, told them, don't make my Father's house a house of merchandise. But nonetheless, who do you see being a victim of whips in the Bible? Yes, the living Torah, the living Word, Yehoshua, Yeshua, Jesus, Yahweh and flesh. Okay, Yahweh and flesh. So, and it just goes to show that you never know. The people that look like the Ned Flanders people, you better watch out for those people, okay? I'm not saying all of them are bad. I'm just saying. We thought these were some of the more upstanding, or they appear to be the most morally high, objectively morally high status people in the church, because he came from the Midianite background. Their kids weren't allowed to do nothing but church or work, homework, and maybe play outside. I don't even think they're allowed to computer, video games, or anything. Maybe that's a good thing, because they were well behaved and they looked happy. I'm not sitting here trying to help these people, okay? Because I went to church with them. Because like I said, and then how did this mother, it seemed so nice, but they were so strict, man. They were controlling. They were very controlling. I mean, way controlling. She would just have to shoot a look to her kids, and they would just, have to get back in line. She could shoot her look across the room, But this is the woman that always usually smiled. And how could she allow her husband to do this? Did she allow him? Did she think it was her place? It wasn't her place to protect her children and remove her husband. Did she think this was right according to the Bible? Had she been brainwashed by him, thinking that this was okay, according to scriptures, to beat the children like this? Or had she been a victim of him? Maybe she thought that her husband's the head, she's got to listen to what he says. And this is the problem with the Christian churches and these kind of things. If the people would be acting the way they're supposed to, and rightly dividing right from wrong, being able to do this and discern, rather than confusing people and saying your husband, you always have to obey your husband. That's not true. Not when he goes over the line. Not when he's breaking any of God's rules. You don't. That's my opinion. But you say otherwise, you're an idiot. Why did not get those kids out? How could you? Or were you part of it? Were you sick? I think part of you was sick, woman. That you enjoyed. You probably enjoyed the punishment and discipline because you liked to discipline them. I worked with you and the twins and your daughter. They're all 17 now. They're about 14 then. A couple of years back, I worked at the Pistachio Ranch in Hinckley with you guys, harvesting pistachios. Okay? Those kids worked all day without complaint. They did not even get paid. Those kids. They didn't get paid. Their mom kept the money that they earned. Okay? Now, I don't know how much, if they got, she bought things for them or whatnot, but this is, and you know what? Harvesting food, any kind of food, when it's harvested, it's not easy work. Ask any kind of farmer or person that's harvested food. It is not easy work. It's very hard work. Okay? It's very rewarding, but it's hard. So these kids work their asses off, for days in fields. Well, it's supposed to be pretty much adult work, but I think they have been trying to teach their kids natural stuff, because living on a ranch, they're ranching, they had horses and stuff like that, I just don't get it. But you watch out for those people that smile all the time. And the ones that act like they're the Ned Flanders looking ones, they're probably the worst ones. Who knows? Maybe those kids deserved it. No, they didn't. That's what some people are going to think and say. Some people are going to say, well, maybe they had every right as a Christian according to your Bible, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear any of that. That's complete nonsense. That was satanic. That was satanic discipline. That was not no love involved in that. Now I'm going to say something. You whip a kid's little butt or something like that, if you tell them they're little kid, just a little swat on their butt, not even hurt their butt, it hurts their feelings more than it does their little butt, okay? But you can swat a kid on the butt, that's not against the law. It's not against the law, okay? But when you beat your kids like that, that's big difference, okay? Because I might believe in spankings. I know police officers that believe in spankings. If I don't leave any marks on my kids, okay, and I whip them with an open hand, and 2 times, boom, boom, that's enough. And it's not even hard enough to hurt them. They start crying. Even before my hand hits their butt, they start crying because they know they're wrong. That's just how they are. But I hate doing even that. I would love to just spoil them and just not have to whip their little butts sometimes, which is very rare because they're well behaved. But they're well behaved, I think, because balanced parents. We're both here all the time as well. So I mean, I can't work anymore. I'm disabled. Okay, so my wife is disabled. So these people, though, they just seem like we call them the flannels, kind of like the Flanders, you know. We call them the flannels because they all always wore flannels, even when it was like hot and stuff. And maybe the reason why they did that was because they were covering up marks where they were being beat. Maybe not. So I don't understand fully the mentality of the parents. Were they psychotic? Were they, well, obviously to a degree, but were they trying to be evil, which they were being evil, but were they trying to be evil, or were they thinking that they were doing good? Were they brainwashed by the scriptures and misunderstanding the scriptures? You know, the way that they like to discipline, from what I saw in the church, was from the mother. It almost like she enjoyed to, you know, she got off on, she loved to, it'd rage up, you know, and she would not show it as much, but they were control freaks on their kids. Anyway, I wanted to report this because I've sat right across from these people. I've eaten with these people. I have done harvest pistachios with these people. These are good kids. They're some of the best kids you could see. I mean, you know, I would have, you know, I love my own son, you know, and I'll always love my own son. But I wish sometimes that my own son would act the way that these kids acted. So their behavior was good, and they did not show outwardly that there was something wrong. Like they weren't always depressed or something. You know, they smiled and laughed and joked in church and everything. But there was also this quiet side. They never spoke about home life much, and they were homeschooled. And then there was another side to where, like, sometimes they would be depressed in church, looking, or one kid would always be like nodding out in church, like he had to stay up and do some chores all night, you know, no telling, and you know, it's very sad. And then the girl, it was a very sweet young girl, you know, would be, you know, a great daughter for somebody, you know. I would love to, hopefully my daughters grow up to be as well-mannered and decent as that girl that they raised. So, makes me question and wonder at their behavior, you know, was great, but at what cost? Was it worth the cost that they had to go through? And was the whipping and beating part necessary, or was it just necessary to discipline in a different way, but also keep them away from the video games, movies, and the freedom that most kids have, which basically, you know, they were free to educate and learn and read some books and things like that. You know, they weren't completely cut off from everything. But, and I'm not going to claim to know their whole situation because I've never been, like I said, never been to their house. But I've sat across from this guy and I've argued Bible with him. You know, kindly, not, you know, meanly, but he would never consent to or what I was saying because as valid, because of course he was a Midianite and I was this recovered drug addict, you know, that just started going to church there, you know, so I must have been wrong, but he didn't know that I've been studied the whole my whole life and been in church my whole life. Decided to go back to church just for the sake of my wife and my little kids to start learning about church. But then I was convicted by the Saturday Sabbath change the Catholics made to a Sunday, and so we escaped that and we left the church. But you know, so you never know. You never know who you're sitting across from. You just never know. You can't tell. You cannot tell. You know, these were people you think that upstanding citizens, some of the most morally upstanding citizens and the hardest working citizens in that community. And probably before this happened, anyone that would ask about the character of these people would say it was pretty much flawless. So, you know, be careful what you see and what you watch and what you perceive is on the outside as good, because you know what? Good isn't always right. You know, good is not always right. There's a difference. You know, like I've said before, people in the Bible were scoundrels and this and that. I'm not trying to excuse their behavior, but what I'm saying is there's a difference. You don't always have to be good, but you should always try to be right. And what they did was not right. By all means. I feel very bad for those kids. If you kids see this video, we reach out to you. If you guys remember us, you should. Me and Anthony and Ivy and Iris and April. We love you guys, and we hope that you recover from this. We don't know how long this has been going on. I'm sorry if this is embarrassing, but more people should know about this. You know, I don't want to embarrass you guys, but we do love you guys, and we care about you. And so we're hoping that people out there will pray for these two boys and the girl. And as much as I don't want to pray for this other guy, you know, that's between me and God. Len, I would love to take you out back and scrap down with you, man. And they should put these people, these parents in cages. They should put these parents in cages and do the same shit they did to these kids, but for a year or 2 years, you know, and then put them in regular housing. Maybe they should put them in cages opposite of spider monkeys. And what they should do is just, the spider monkeys throw poop at them all day and pee at them. Make these people be opposite of cages of monkeys, and like I said, let the monkeys throw their excrement, and let these people live off of monkey excrement and monkey piss. Okay, and then chain them down, lock them up, and beat them, and do this for a year, every day. Treat them like they did in the old Planet of the Apes movie, okay? When they had the human in the damn cage. So, just pray for these kids. You know, they need it. They're going to need it. Wherever they go now, they probably would not be back in the custody of these parents. If they do, that is a real damn shame. Man, you know, and then the woman, what were you thinking, woman? What were you thinking? You should have got those kids and left. I know people can be brainwashed, but to what degree? You seem like you had enough sense in your head. You did not seem psychotic. You did not seem out there. You did not seem to have any mental disabilities, and you guys did not seem to be addicted to any drugs. You didn't drink. So, I just don't get it. You know, how could you be such a nurturing, a loving mother, you know, and then let your husband do this to your children that you claim you love? You spare the rod, spoil the child. To understand that. It doesn't say anything about a whip and a cage. You know, it says something in the Bible about caging every foul beast, and some kind of stuff like that. You know, you can't get away with this kind of living. This is not the 1800s. It's not the 1700s. It's not even the 1900s. All right, it's 2016. That doesn't mean you have to not believe your Bible and go along with all the PC bullcrap that they try to push on us to say that, you know, we are, you know, a village and it takes a village to raise the children. The state owns the children. No. You raise your children how you see fit and according to what God says, if you're a believer. But this is inhumane. That was wrong. That was very wrong. And I feel so bad for you guys, you children. So if you see this video, know there's people out here that love you and care about you and are going to be praying for you and hoping for the best for you to recover from this, because it's going to need a lot of recovery. Don't give up on God, kids, okay? Children, please, don't give up on God. You can still believe in God. No, there's a good, righteous God, and that the way you were being treated was not the way God wanted you to be treated. Okay? So don't give up on God because of your parents. You know, I know you probably hate the whole thing because it's, some of the reasons why you were abused was because your dad was a Midianite, believing he could live like a cowboy days or before that, you know, settler days, and put you in cages and whip you. That's just, that's a shame, and I know that a lot of that is because they believe that they're doing their biblical duty. So that could make you turned away from the scripture. Please, just don't give up on God, okay? Because that's what you've been taught your whole life. You know very much a lot about it. I know you guys do, but you were taught the actions were wrong, you know. And not, like I said, not every parent's perfect, but that's way beyond. That's way beyond any kind. They had to know that's wrong, against the law. That was breaking the law. That was breaking the law, and you know, like I said, hey, I'm not claiming to be a person that never broke the law, but so we're praying for you guys. You know, we're praying for you guys, and we hope that you realize that the reason why exposing this is so others know, and so other people can know from the church there that can pray for you, regardless if I claim I'm a Christian or not, or just a follower of the way. And I think that Christians have a big flaw in their Bible, in their New Testament, and their Old Testament, in the translations. But regardless, I do believe in the collective consciousness, the power of prayer. And the studies have shown it works. So we are sharing that with the community, because all the people, other people out there from the church love you too, and they need to know about this. They can pray for you. I hope the best for you guys, and I just hope you recover from this quickly, and I pray that you recover quickly. And I also pray that the other people that watch this on YouTube and see this video will pray for these boys and this girl. Now, it says the girl was not there's no indication she was a victim of any crime, but that doesn't mean she wasn't. I'm not trying to say she was either, but here's the case. Even if they say there was no indication, which is like external, that's not true, because if she had to see them being caged and whipped like that, or even knew that, even though maybe she was in a separate room and did not witness it, she knew that was going on, that had to terrify her for her brothers and for her own self and life, okay? That is a crime, in my opinion. That's mental abuse too, okay? So, you know, they say there was no indication that she was a victim of any crime. Okay, but nonetheless, there was a crime to her, because she's a victim of just having to deal with this, living and maybe seeing this. Maybe not. Maybe knowing but not seeing it. Still, it's abuse, okay? Being exposed to other people being abused, whether you're not being abused physically or mentally or not, directly, it indirectly is abusive, if that is the case. And if they were leaving her alone and were hard on the boys, that can really mess up her head too. Go ask Michael Jackson what it was like when the Jackson 5 and they had to all follow him by cue. And if any of the other Jacksons got off cue from, he told them, dance like Michael dances. And so they all had to follow little Michael. And if he got out of line, they got whipped with a cord or whatever. That's how he whipped them into staying in step with Michael Jackson's steps back in the Jackson 5. So, anyway, this went from white Midianite type country folk to dark Michael Jackson millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire people. Anyway, that's the end. That's all I got for it. I did not want to report it. I wanted to do it last night, but I was tired, and I was so upset and shook up. I did not, because I knew these people, and I knew these children. I knew these kids. You know, they were good kids, and it just was such a shock last night when I read this, and then I recognized the names, and I knew that they were rancher people, and they worked at the feed store, and I knew they were into like cowboy stuff and everything. And when I saw the whip and everything, and then I saw that it was two boys, they were teenagers, twins. I knew who they were by their names and everything, and it just struck me. My heart just sunk down to the pit of my stomach, almost as if I had diarrhea problem. That's how fast it went down to my stomach. My heart sunk. Then I was just in a state of shock, and all I could do was I was almost ready for bed when I got the news, and then I read the news, and I just recognized who it was, and I wanted to report it right away, but I couldn't because I was too upset still from it, you know. So, you know, it's different for like a reporter or somebody to go into, like, say if a reporter came out and did this, reported on this, and they don't know the people. It's different. But when you know the people, it's a lot harder to get over this kind of abuse. Knowing the people and knowing the kids, it makes it much different. So anyway, I was startled and I was shooken up, and I was just really hyped up and in a state of shock and disbelief and anger and sadness, you know, all at once. And when you can't, it's hard to function that way or try to make sense of all this, and I couldn't do that. So I had to wait till this morning to do this, which was a much better idea. I slept on it, I woke up calm, and then I remembered the news I needed to report. This is local, okay? This is the town. This happened in the town of Hinckley. It's the same town that you hear of in the movie, The True Story of Aaron Brockovich, where the PG&E dumped water, dumped chemicals into a water supply, and it poisoned the whole community. It was the biggest lawsuit in America. All right, so this is really horrible news, and I hate to report it, and I hate that I known these people. I thought I knew them, but nonetheless, you think you know somebody, and you don't. So that goes to show you can't trust anybody on the outward, just from the outward appearance. If you don't know them, if you've not been invited to their home, see how they conduct their life at home, away from church and stuff like that, and you haven't been around them all day and all night, then maybe you get to know somebody, you know. But if you just see them at church and mostly, or out, you know, somewhere else, but you never get to go to their home and experience how they really are at home, then you don't really know them. That's why I keep my stuff raw and unedited here. But so please, guys, pray for these people. I hate to say to pray for the mother and father, okay? But, you know, I doubt there's any hope for them. But, you know, we should still pray for them, you know. That sounds really backwards. I can put them on God's altar. I can pray for them. You know, it doesn't say that we should pray for our enemies, love our enemies. Sometimes, you know, love is tough, but not like this. You don't put people in cages and beat them. This is the way they were treating Yeshua, you know, before they crucified him, before they put him on the pole, on the upright pole. Okay, so wow. Anyway, so I know these people firsthand, and I'd love to get my hands around this dude's neck. Any of the homeboys, the Woods in jail, you guys know how to handle people like this. You know what'll happen to him. This guy's probably never been to jail for anything because he's always been a goody-goody guy, right? And probably kept his little sins in the closet, right? Because his sins were like the different kind of nature, where it wasn't crime. Cops weren't looking for him dealing drugs or gangbanging or something like that. Everything was at home, secluded, okay? But now, when you've been to jail, guess what, dude? You know what's going to happen to him in jail, in prison? They're not going to get the bail, $100,000 bail. I doubt it. I doubt they'll get a $100,000 bail for both of them. They're going to sit in the jail, wait out their sentence. But here's the thing. You have no idea what they do to people that child abuse, child neglect, child molesters, anyone that hurts children and women. Oh boy, you're in for a beating. So you better, you'll get, even if you get off scot-free, or you get a couple months and they let you out on a probation, or whatever the case is, slap on the wrist, or if you do time, either way, you're going to get a beat down in there because they're going to beat your ass. I know they are. I don't have to tell them to. I don't have to tell them to. I don't have to tell them to. Because they're going to do it. I guarantee you they're going to do it. I've seen it every time. Every time there's somebody in there that hurt kids, child neglect, child abuse, child molesters, rapists, or people that hurt women. You go on a list and you're going to get your ass beat probably by every single person in the jail. If you're in a 50 or 100-man tier cell, he's probably at West Valley or Victorville Jail or Glen Helen, which Glen Helen and West Valley are right down there where in Rancho Cucamonga, San Bernardino area, where it's about 100 miles away from here. That's where Anito Fuentes lives, around that area. Anyway, and then the other jail he could be is Victorville, which is about 40 miles away. Either way, whatever jail you go to, you're going to be in there with people, and they're going to want to see and ask you what you're in there for. When you show them the paperwork, because guess what? Not showing your paperwork is just as bad in jail and deserves a beat down, just as bad as showing the paperwork, because denying the paperwork is you're guilty. They consider that you're guilty in jail if you don't show the paperwork. You're hiding it. You know, when you show your paperwork and they see your paperwork, they're gonna beat your ass, dude. You're gonna get what you deserve. You get to see what it's like. And this guy is a short dude. He's a little bit taller than I am. He's wiry, and he's worked probably in the ranch, and he's got a good healthy body. But it doesn't matter, because those dudes, there's going to be more than one. You're not going to be able to take them all on. They're going to beat your ass. They'll probably beat your ass in the bathroom. That's where they usually go away, where they can. There's an area where they can't see, or they're not watching all the time, because the cops don't want to watch men shit and piss in the bathroom area. They'll take you to the bath, whatever it takes. They're going to beat your ass. And like I said, I won't have to tell them, because that's the code of the jail. And the sheriff's department knows that. They know that. They'll put you in place with other people they know are going to beat your ass. They're not there. Believe me, they want to put you in a place where you're going to get your ass beat. Because when you go to this place, jail's just not so you're in confinement and you don't have your freedom. It's a place you go and you're exposed to people you don't want to be around. Okay? So, get ready for your beatdown if you haven't got it, because it's already been the weekend. You spent the weekend in the jail, probably, because this happened Friday. Today's Monday. Okay? So, yeah, you know, you're going to get it in jail, and you're probably going to get it in the courtroom. The judge is not going to be lenient on it. This is psychotic. There's no way you're going to get out of this kind of trial. If you do, I'll be very surprised. And if you get your children back, that's a real shame. But this is one of the cases where I do believe the social services and CPS should be involved. I mean, I do not support the CPS. You can see some of the videos I put up where I believe that there's a lot of legalized kidnapping going on, and you know, dealing out children because they get money and bonuses for each child under 5. I'm not against that. This is what I think CPS is good for, is these kind of cases. Not these baloney bullshit little petty cases that they blow out of proportion. Because you can see a lot of them. You can see a lot of them where they did not need to be removed from the home, and it was all just hearsay shit. But this is not a hearsay shit. Okay? This is real shit. Cage shit. Being beaten. And remember, like I said, he was put in there from June to July. Imagine how hot it was in there. If he was outdoors or indoors, it was hot. And he could not even stand up in that cage, in a 4 foot by 4 foot cage. It was 4 foot tall, 4 foot wide, you know, square. Right? You can't even stand up in that thing. And believe me, running the ranch, they had plenty of big cages and kennels. So, and it padlocked them in there. And a baby monitor to hear any movement going on. You know, I'm curious, what was it? Even though I know the discipline was way off and wrong, completely wrong and satanic. But what was it that these kids did so bad in the mind of these parents that they had to do this to them? What was it? What they did? They mouthed off once? You know, didn't memorize the scripture? Huh. What, you know? Oh, forgot to feed the chickens? Told you a lie and said he fed the chickens that day when he really wanted to just go off and play or do something? Because your life is hell with you guys? You know, maybe they didn't want to live like the 1800s? You know? Who knows? But we're praying for you guys and we love you, okay? Is that Love Clark? Yes, not Love Clark, but it's the Holloway family, actually. And you guys know who we are. April and Tony. Or Mike. Whichever one they were going by too there. So, anyway, we love you guys and we're going to be praying for you. So, it's at Love Clark. And, you know, keep your eyes and ears open. And don't trust nobody.